Am I the wrong one for moving out mid-lease and stranding my roommate with full rent after his girlfriend keeps accusing me of being creepy? So I've been living with my current roommate for 2 years now. I'm actually subletting and I'm on my second year, which is month to month. But we've had an unofficial verbal agreement that I'd stay until the end of the year. I mean, it's a pandemic. I didn't think I'd move either. Anyways, his GF moved in beginning of this year. It's been a lot. She's obviously had some trauma in the past. I didn't dig, but I believe she was the victim of a home robbery a few years back. Well, when she first moved in, my roommate had some ground rules for me so his GF would be more comfortable. She obviously wasn't thrilled about having another roommate. He said I couldn't talk to her, like strike up a convo, if he wasn't there because she doesn't want to have to talk to me if she didn't have to. He also said it would be best if we tried to not use the same facilities at the same time, like if she's cooking in the kitchen, I should wait until she leaves before I grab food, etc. Like, yes, it's strange, but I figured it's his place, so whatever. I'm not trying to befriend her either. Things got worse in recent months cause we've all been working from home. It's really hard to avoid someone 24/7, so obviously I've slipped up more. One time I came home from Costco and offered her a spare bottle of coconut water I couldn't fit in the fridge. Big mistake. My roommate had to have a talk with me that night about how I should know she would never drink my drinks and it's weird for me to even offer. The most recent one was when she was watching some guy in our living room. I just absent-mindedly watched a bit standing behind the couch. I laughed at a scene which startled her when she looked up and saw me standing behind her. I got another earful from my roommate about how I needed to stop creeping on her now that I'm home all the time. Long story short, my friend just had a place open up that's cheap and I'm gonna move. I told my roommate and he's pissed because of our unofficial agreement and how he's probably gonna pay full rent for a while. I feel bad because yeah, I did say I wasn't gonna move, but I'm also pretty sick of both him and his GF. However, I feel kind of guilty because I agreed to their weird rules before all this started back when I thought it'd be okay. Not the wrong one, that's an insane way to have to live. Get out ASAP. Not the wrong one, if you leave there are still 2 people in the flat. Why is the GF not paying rent? Besides that, these were ridiculous rules. If she can't get over her past trauma, it's not your responsibility to cope with her to the point you can offer coconut water. Must be hard for her, but she is TA. Am I the wrong one for cutting my kid's day out short? I've been looking after my daughter, 13, alone for the past few months because my wife is stranded abroad and can't get back into the country due to the pandemic. It's been pretty good mostly because I've been able to work from home. Yesterday, however, I had a critical work meeting about a major contract, so to avoid distractions I sorted out a play date with one of my daughter's friends for the day, and I dropped her to the friend's house about an hour away. I drive over, I drop her and drive back by about 10:30. I'm about 20 minutes into what should be a 2/3 contract negotiation when I get a text from my kid asking if we can get McDonald's on the way back. Now, that was a code message I'd said to her saying that if you're feeling uncomfortable with the situation or what's going on, text or call me or mom that. We'll come and get you wherever you are, and it wouldn't be obvious to anyone listening that she's trying to get away. I text her back, all okay? And she texts back saying I'm very hungry, please get McDonald's on the way back. At this I'm worried, so I make my excuses to my partners, who were annoyed by my dipping out, and I start to rush over there. When I get there, everything is fine. Turns out, it was just a prank. She'd told her friend about the message and they both thought how cool it'd be if they made me drive back up again. I was incensed. I told her that was the end of the play date and how disappointed I was. I also said we were going back home that instant. I made my apologies to the friend's mom and took my kid home. My daughter complained to her mom how I cut play date short and now she wasn't allowed to go out with another friend the next week. My wife spoke to me and said she agrees with me that our daughter did wrong, but said it might be easier for everyone if we let her go out next week. I said no, and that not only had she made it hard to trust her again if she is in genuine danger, which is the worst thing, she also, unknowingly, lost my company 6 figures and lost business. I had to email my side of the presentation to a partner in BC. It was in their area of expertise and they didn't impress the client. While I know that isn't directly her fault, I still believe that actions should have consequences, and it doesn't make me particularly vindictive to see those followed through. Not the wrong one. Classic example of play stupid games win stupid prizes. Your daughter knew that the code meant that she needed to leave right then and there and made you drive all the way back and skip work. She deserves her punishment and maybe even more. I'd ground my kid from several things for that. She knowingly made you think she was in a bad situation and had you drive all the way there when she knew you had important work. Don't budge on your decision. Not the wrong one. It needs to stick in her mind that what she did was wrong, and that she shouldn't do it again. If there are no consequences, there's no incentive to listen to you. I'd just be straightforward and honest with her. Tell her it broke your trust. 13-year-olds can be frustrating, but most do feel remorse when they know they did something wrong. Am I the wrong one for giving guardianship of my son to my aunt over my mother after I die of my terminal cancer? I, 21 years old male, have a son who just turned 1. His mom, who was my girlfriend, died in labor along with the other baby she was carrying. I was diagnosed with terminal cancer 3 months ago and I don't have very long left, 2 months at most. I have accepted that I'm going to die, but now I have to think about what's best for my son. I had to decide who my boy would go to and I thought my mother, 55, naturally. But then I started to think of her situation, as my older 29 lives with her along with his 5 kids all aged under 5, and I decided not to. His mom works and my brother TBH isn't really raising his kids, more dragging them up and can be neglectful. I wasn't going to put my son in that environment as I want someone to actually care for him. So I then thought of my aunt, 33, on my dad's side. She is a good mother and her husband a good father to their 3 girls, and I know they could provide for my son. I asked them and they agreed. My mother, however, found out that I wasn't leaving my son with her and she got angry with me, that she's losing me and now losing her grandson. I gave her my reasons and that she realistically can't raise him while she's basically raising a man-child and his kids. It all ended in an even bigger argument and now I'm cooling off at home. I understand that things are terrible for her right now as I won't be here soon. But my aunt is a much better choice. It's not like my son won't know who she is, as the walk between hers and my aunt's is only 5 minutes. Am I the a-hole? Not the wrong one. You're taking a final responsibility to ensure that your child has the best chance for success. Don't feel bad about it and don't let your mother talk you out of it. You're a good dad, and I'm sure your child will grow up knowing and appreciating that. I want to first offer my condolences over this entire situation. You are a bright and kind young person and I am so sorry this is happening. Short answer: no, not the wrong one. You have to think of your child, as hard and horrible as this all is. I'm unfamiliar with how child custody works once both parents have passed away, but what might offer a decent solution is if you're able to specify that legally, your mother be able to spend time with him. This is a very delicate situation and despite it all I must say I believe you are handling it very well. I'm sending so much love and light your way. Heart. Am I the wrong one for banning my father from my home because he banned me from his when I was younger? When I was 15, my father married a woman I just could not get along with. And there was a lot of friction with her daughter as well. Eventually, the fighting got so bad that my father told me that he would exercise his custody at my grandparents' house instead, effectively banning me from his own home. I said thanks, but no thanks, and stopped seeing him as per the custody schedule. He did make attempts to fix our relationship, but I wasn't interested. We would see each other at family events and we were nice enough to each other. But that's it. It's now 13 years later and I'm married with a 1-year-old. His wife has passed away in an accident a few years ago and I'm assuming he's lonely now, but I don't really want to be his backup plan. He comes to see my son once a month and I only see him at the park and don't engage much with him myself. Last December, he point-blank asked me why I never invited him to my home for dinner or why I never accepted his invites to visit him. I told him the truth. He was very upset, but it's the reality of the situation. Was I the a-hole? Not the wrong one. People keep expecting us sons and daughters to be the bigger person and try to fix the screw-ups our parents did to our relations, which is something I do not believe is fair. Your actions are direct consequence of his, and it's his problem to understand and make peace with that. Not the wrong one. He chose his wife and stepdaughter over you. He deserves to know how that hurt you. Am I the wrong one for letting my brother call me dad and refusing to tell him the ugly truth? I'm well aware that this story sounds extremely hard to believe and fake, and I'm aware that there will be many crap post comments below. Sorry, but this story is 100% true and it is a hot topic of discussion in my family at the moment. I was born when my parents were both 19, and my only other brother, let's call him Josh, was born when they were 42. They divorced shortly after Josh was introduced to the world. He was 4 months old at the time, and they both wanted nothing to do with the child. At the time, I was 23 and I was living alone with my then girlfriend who was 21, now my wife, and I done my best to convince at least one of them to take care of young Josh for his sake and the family's sake, but they refused adamantly and said that I should be taking custody of him instead. So I became legal guardian of my brother and he's been living with us for the past 12 years and things have been going really smooth for us. Josh, now almost 13, has been calling me dad and my wife mom and our 2 children, 4F, 9M, his siblings, and he has absolutely no idea about his real parents, and to be honest, I let all of that slide. He has no idea that I'm really his blood brother and not his father, and I'm starting to feel guilty and a little weird. Some of my uncles and aunts come to visit occasionally and they are really disgusted at the fact he calls me dad, and they are surprised I haven't told him the truth. They constantly messaged me, talk to me in private, and I cannot chat to them without this one particular topic rising up, badgering me to let him know already. But I refused. I discussed this with my wife and she thought it would be wrong to tell him the truth because none of my parents wanted to take care of him and I'm the only person in the world who gave him the father figure everyone deserves. I feel that he has the right to know what he is to me and what I truly am to him. But he's suffered enough already and I just want things to continue how it is. Reddit, am I the wrong one? Wibta, if I let him know the truth? Update. About 70% of the comments are advising me to tell my son who I really am to him. And some are saying sooner than later. I've just got up to discuss this with my wife and now after a lot of hesitation, we've decided that it's best the truth comes from us and it has to come now. Right now, it's late for us, but we shall address this to him first thing this week, or even tomorrow. Thanks guys. This is a good topic to discuss with a therapist or counselor that specializes in adoption-related issues. My understanding is that it can be very distressing to a child or adult to abruptly find out that they've been adopted. Most things I have read indicate it's best to let the child know early on that they came from a different mommy's tummy, and then went to their mommy and daddy, or something along those lines. Your brother is past that point, but you are better off acting on this sooner than later. It's better that he find out from you and your wife. Otherwise, eventually someone is going to spill the beans. Not the wrong one. The a-holes are your nosy uncles and aunts. You've raised him since he was a baby. You are the only paternal, and your wife, maternal, figure he has known. But I think you'll shock him, if not turn his world upside down. But given your family dynamic, it very well might be that these uncles and aunts do it because they feel he should know. So it might be best if he heard it coming from you. Am I the wrong one for putting my dog's wee-wee pads on the bathroom floor? BC, my BF has bad aim and keeps missing the toilet. My boyfriend, 30/M, and I, 28/F, have been together about a year, and when our city implemented lockdown for the virus, he decided to quarantine with me at my apartment as I live alone and have a nicer apartment and he has several roommates. Mostly it has been going well and thankfully we both still have jobs, except in the first few weeks I started noticing that the bathroom floor was suddenly always wet around the toilet. The sink is across the room from the toilet, so it's unlikely to be from the sink. At first I thought it might be water, but soon realized that it was definitely pee. I asked BF about it nicely, and he apologized and said sometimes he has bad aim. I asked him to try a little harder and he said sure. The floor continued to be frequently spattered with piss, and a few weeks later I confronted him about it again because I think it's pretty gross to step in his pee several times a week, and it seems like an easy thing to fix. If he misses the toilet, I think the very least he could do is make sure to wipe it up with toilet paper or a Clorox wipe. The cleaning supplies even live in a cabinet directly over the toilet. He said sure, sorry, he would try to remember to do that. Another week has passed and while maybe he's doing this sometimes, I've continued to step in splatters of his pee and wipe it off the floor and clean the floor several times a week. I thought about asking him to just pee into the bathtub or something instead, because I don't understand how you can pee on the floor by accident so often and not notice and not clean it up. Last night I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and absolutely stepped in piss for the 12,312,301,298th time. I had it and I didn't want to pick a fight or ask him again since it seems clear he can't or won't change. So I got one of my dog's wee-wee pads from when he was a puppy. He is well trained now, and cut it up a bit and taped it down to make a sort of skirt or mat around the floor near the toilet to at least absorb the piss. BF saw this morning and is furious with me, saying that I'm calling him a dog, comparing him to an animal, etc. Honestly, I was not thinking that at all. I just was trying to be resourceful and solve the problem for myself since I don't like piss on my bathroom floor and don't like stepping in it. I didn't feel like arguing about it anymore, and putting a material specifically meant to absorb pee around the area he keeps peeing on by accident seemed like a practical solution. Am I the wrong one? Not the wrong one. If he pees like an animal, then this is a perfectly appropriate solution. BF needs to grow up and be more considerate. This is disgusting. Not the wrong one. I'd if long-term cohabitating and or marriage are in the future for you too, but he is telling you right now how he is going to behave in the future. You should expect that if you settle, you will be dealing with pissy bathroom floors for the rest of your lives together. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day. See you later.